Vikings, let's win this game.
Attention Vikings fan. Today the vibe in Minnesota is electric. This matchup against the Texans had it all. A heart-wrenching moment, a new name that lit up the crowd, performances nobody saw coming, and a silent but powerful message to the NFL's toughest critics. It's the kind of day that separates the casual followers from those who live every second of this franchise. Are you ready to feel pride and worry in the same breath? Welcome. Show your Viking support by reaching 100 thumbs up on today's video. It happened in an instant, shifting the atmosphere inside US Bank Stadium. The crowd, still buzzing from the early game adrenaline, fell silent. Rondale Moore, our wide receiver and punt returner, was down on the turf, clutching his left leg after a hard hit on the sideline. It wasn't just any return. The scoreboard showed 7-6 for the Texans, and Moore had just gained 2 yards trying to make something happen on the return. But the way he stayed motionless on the grass already signaled it wasn't just a minor tweak. And here's a detail that cuts even deeper, fan. It was almost exactly a year since he'd been carted off the field back in his Atlanta days due to a right knee injury that sidelined him for the entire season. Moore came to Minnesota looking for a fresh start to rebuild his career. A fifth-year player out of Purdue with 3 years in the Cardinals, packing 135 receptions, 1,201 yards, and 3 touchdowns. He wasn't a locked-in starter as a receiver, but he was our go-to guy for punt returns, a role that demands guts, burst, and vision. When the cart rolled onto the field and he was taken away, it felt like the whole weight of the season crashed down on the team's shoulders. We know how these injuries mess with the group's morale, and for a roster already dealing with Jordan Addison's suspension, losing Moore early in preseason is more than a tactical headache. It's an emotional gut punch. What does this mean for the Vikings? First off, the immediate need to rethink the special teams unit. Moore brought speed and agility that could flip field position. Without him, the coaching staff has to test alternatives fast, and that might even crack the door for some rookie to step up. But don't kid yourself. Losing a guy with experience in that spot is always a blow, and it's not just about skills or stats. Moore was carrying the motivation to prove he still had fuel in the tank. That storyline bonded the fans and the locker room. Now, with this forced break, the burning question is, will he make it back this season? Because if he does, you can bet he'll be carrying more than the ball. He'll be hauling one of the year's most inspiring comeback tales. We were still processing Moore's exit when something started sparking the energy back in the stadium. And it wasn't from an established vet, but a name that most folks didn't even have on their radar, Max Brosmer. This kid from the University of Minnesota hit the field and made the crowd forget the bad news for a few minutes. And that's no small feat in a preseason game. The setup wasn't easy. Without Sam Darnold and with the weight of the preseason debut, Brosmer was one of 4 quarterbacks driving the offense. But when his turn came, he didn't waste it. Just 5 completions out of 8 attempts. Nothing flashy on paper, but it's how he did it that mattered, and especially when. It was in the tensest spot, 4th and goal. Pressure bearing down hard, a Texans defender charging straight at him, and the kid stayed cool, made the read, timed the throw perfectly, and put the Vikings' only touchdown up to that point on the board. The reaction was instant. J.J. McCarthy, our starting quarterback, was hyped on the sideline like it was his own pass. Social media? It blew up. Fans were already saying Brosmer could legit be the QB2 for the season. Analysts dropped Step Brothers memes to show his vibe with McCarthy. Even the Purple for the Win podcast always level-headed throughout that the Vikings have something special with Max Brosmer. But let's break it down coolly. In the 2025 draft, he was projected for the 6th or 7th round. Lance Zierlein from NFL Network called him a confident cerebral quarterback with average traits, and he knocked the arm as just average and accuracy against tight coverage. But against zone, he showed vision and poise. And on Saturday, we saw it live. He read defenses, held his ground in the pocket, and exploited gaps. Sure, it wasn't flawless. He even had a fumble on a snap exchange, but his confidence stood out. Does this shake up our quarterback room? You bet it does. If Brosmer keeps this up, McCarthy gets a reliable backup and the franchise locks in depth at a key spot. And let's be real, for a team eyeing playoffs, a rookie popping like this could be the surprise factor that flips games. The final score read 20-10 for Minnesota, but more than the win, it was the pile of intriguing takeaways that stuck. 5 standouts that show how the roster is shaping up for the season, and each one says a lot about where we are and where we could head. The first name, obviously, is J.J. McCarthy. He only played 12 snaps in the opening drive, but he flashed a bit of everything. 3 completions to Jordan Addison, including an impact play and even an 8-yard scramble on 4th down. It wasn't perfect, He missed some throws, but the poise, reads, and confidence are already signs that the offense is in good hands. He finished 4 of 7 for 30 yards, but the vibe goes way beyond the stats. Then came Sam Howell. Plenty of folks were doubting him in training camp, questioning his accuracy and decisions. Well, against the Texans, he fired back. Led 2 scoring drives, a field goal and his own rushing touchdown after a 14-play, 94-yard march. Wrapped up 11 of 13 for 105 yards, plus the ground score. He was efficient, sharp, and showed he still wants to fight for that QB2 role. Another spotlight hit the backfield. Xavier Scott, 7 carries for 40 yards plus an 11-yard catch. Showed vision, burst, and toughness that's hard to tackle. His backstory is even cooler. Former wide receiver in college, switched to running back, and now pushing Ty Chandler for that RB3 spot. On defense, the name that popped was Gabriel Murphy, with 2 sacks in the first half. Proved he could be a solid 4th outside linebacker, a role Dallas Turner handled last year. And we got an interception clinic in the 4th quarter. 3 in a row against rookie Graham Mertz, with Ambry Thomas snagging the first and Caleb Halassi grabbing the next 2. And to cap it, Max Brosmer came in the 4th and tossed a touchdown to Miles Price, sealing the shine we already talked about. It was the cherry on top of a game that didn't just deliver a win, but boosted the feeling that the roster has depth and talent emerging everywhere. Some critics were geared up to use any slip as ammo against J.J. McCarthy. To them, a young quarterback, even from a 14-win season, still had to prove he deserved to lead the team. And it took just 1 preseason game for McCarthy to flip that script upside down. He had only 1 offensive series against the Texans, but it felt like he'd been running the show for hours. On paper, 4 completions and 7 attempts for 30 yards, no touchdowns. For the surface-level folks, nothing special. But for anyone who watched every snap, what stood out was bigger: command. McCarthy owned the huddle, made line adjustments, and ran plays with the confidence of someone who gets the gravity of leading. Head coach Kevin O'Connell didn't hold back on the praise post-game. Talked up McCarthy's ability to hit an explosive play action, convert thirds, and use his legs for a key 4th down. Poise and control were the words flowing from the coach's mouth. And let's face it, when the head coach highlights that right after the debut, it's because he saw exactly what he needed. And it's not just the staff who noticed. The fans left the stadium feeling like the kid's ready. Yeah, it was just a preseason game, but the mental boost of showing steadiness early can't be underrated. Especially when you know Minnesota historically carries scars from instability at the game's most vital position. McCarthy now has 2 wins in 2 games as a Viking, both in preseason. Sure, we're not pretending August wins equal January glory, but for a team chasing consistency and belief, these baby steps matter a ton. Beyond him, the game hammered home the roster's strength with showings from Sam Howell, Max Brosmer, Xavier Scott, and Gabriel Murphy. But the big message that lingered was this: J.J. McCarthy is the leader of this offense, and if he keeps growing at this pace, it won't just be the fans buying in. The critics will have to eat their words sooner or later. Today we saw a bit of everything: the drama of possibly losing more, the unexpected spark from Brosmer, the depth revealed in the win over the Texans, and above all, McCarthy's steady leadership. These are stories that tug at a fan's heart and shape the season's narrative before the real kickoff. But what about you? Do you think these signs already show the Vikings are primed for something big, or is it still too early to dream big? So let's keep that energy going. Share this video, drop a comment, and hit that subscribe button for all the latest Vikings updates. Stay tuned. SKOL Vikings, let's go!